meeting her boyfriend's parents.
Margaret was going to meet her boyfriend's parents for the first time. She was worried that they wouldn't like her because she was poor. They probably thought she was with him for his money. She wasn't. She was with him because he was kind and funny. Margaret had to look her best. She put on her nicest dress, heels, and diamond earrings. Margaret's boyfriend, Jimmy, picked her up. "You'll be fine," he said. When she saw Jimmy's parents' house, she gasped. It was huge. There were 2 security guards at the 2 ends of the gate. They typed in the code and the gate opened. When they got to the front door, the servant opened the door for them. Margaret and Jimmy went into the living room to find Jimmy's parents drinking expensive wine. It was the kind of wine that was $100 a bottle. "Mom, Dad, this is Margaret," Jimmy said. Jimmy's mom looked at Margaret from top to bottom and frowned. Jimmy's dad did the same. Margaret was not off to a good start. The 4 of them sat at a dining table. Nobody said anything for 10 minutes. Margaret broke the silence and said, "This is delicious." "Of course it is. It's probably the most expensive thing you ever ate," Jimmy's mom said. "Mom, that was really mean," Jimmy said. "I'm just saying the truth, son." Margaret and Jimmy left after dinner. Margaret swore she would never see his parents again.
The best donut on earth.
Ginny was obsessed with donuts. She had her first donut when she was 5 years old. It was from a gas station. Ginny was crying, and her dad was trying to get her to be quiet. He gave her a donut, and Ginny immediately stopped crying. Ginny has tried 20 different donut shops and hundreds of different flavors. Some of her favorite donut flavors included chocolate, banana, and regular glazed. Her friend Rebecca knows how much she likes donuts, so she recommended her a place. "It's called Doughnutty. It's known to be the best donut on earth," Rebecca said. "What's so good about it?" Ginny asked. "They're really fresh, and they use a type of sugar that is good for you," Rebecca said. Ginny was going to check the shop out. Doughnutty was an hour away from Ginny's house. Her brother made fun of her for driving so far just to eat donuts. When Ginny and Rebecca got there, the store was closed. The girls felt so frustrated. They decided to get donuts at the gas station nearby. It was not the best, but it was still pretty good.
Vegetarian family.
Myron was a meat lover, and Nick was a veggie lover. Not only is Nick a veggie lover, but he is a vegetarian. It makes things hard for Myron and Nick's parents to prepare meals for them. The parents liked meat, but when they make something like chicken, they have to prepare something different for Nick. It was extra work. The family was recently invited to a friend's barbecue party. Nick didn't want to go because he knew that everyone would ask why he wasn't eating meat. "Honey, just come. There will be mashed potatoes and corn," his mom said. "I know, Mom, but I just don't want to explain to everyone why I'm a vegetarian," Nick said. "Everyone there wants to see how you're doing," his mom said. "You know what, Nick? Why don't we all become vegetarians for this whole month? We can all explain together why we're vegetarians. It will be healthier for us too, his dad said. Nick appreciated his dad's suggestion. That's too hard for me, Myron said. Well, Myron, it would be good if you laid off the meat for a while, Nick said. The boys and their parents went to the barbecue party and didn't eat meat. They felt surprisingly good.
A hot risk.
It is 100 degrees Fahrenheit in Los Angeles, California today. Toby had made plans to go hiking today. His mom told him not to go because it was too hot. Toby still wanted to go. Toby and his friends drove up to the hiking trail. When they got out of the car, they felt the hotness immediately. Toby, I'm starting to sweat already, his friend said. You'll be fine. Just drink water, Toby said. As they started walking, they noticed that the plants were all brown. They all died. There were not a lot of people hiking either. Toby's friends started to put sunscreen on. Want some? He asked. Toby said, I don't get burned. Well, suit yourself, his friend said. As they continued walking, the trail was getting steeper and steeper. Hey, Brian, remember that one time your mom hiked with us? Toby asked. It was completely silent. Toby turned around. Brian was on the ground. He had fainted. Toby called 911. When they came, they told Toby that Brian fainted from the heat. You shouldn't be out on a day like this, the emergency response team said. Toby rode with Brian to the hospital. Toby even sat beside Brian while he was unconscious. An hour later, Brian was up. Toby hugged him. You're totally red, Brian said. Toby looked in the mirror and saw that his face was sunburned.
Cash only.
Eduardo went to a restaurant. It was a hole in the wall, meaning it wasn't a nice place. The restaurant was known for having delicious, authentic Japanese food. All the employees there were related to each other. Sometimes the service was slow, but that's because all the food is made fresh. The cooks make the food only when the customer orders it. Eduardo sat down. The table was dirty, but Eduardo didn't mind. The server asked him what he wanted to order. Eduardo ordered a salmon roll. It came out in 15 minutes. Eduardo took his first bite. It was delicious. When the check came out, Eduardo put his credit card down. The server told him the place was cash only. Eduardo asked if he could go to the nearest bank. The server said that he couldn't trust him. Eduardo swore he would come back. The server still didn't let him leave. Eduardo first called his sister to help him. His sister was at work, so she couldn't come until nighttime. Eduardo called his best friend Mason. Mason was in the area, so he said okay. Mason came down and paid for Eduardo's meal.
And new look.
Laura always had really long hair. It went all the way down her back. It was difficult to maintain. It took her 20 minutes to wash her hair. It was also hard for her to exercise since her hair was always flying around everywhere. Laura decided to cut her hair all the way to her ears. She wanted very short hair. She also wanted to donate her hair to cancer patients. Laura always felt strongly about cancer. Her mom died from breast cancer. The hairstylist asked Laura if she was sure that she wanted to cut her hair. Laura nodded. When the hairstylist was finished, Laura looked down to the floor. There was so much hair. Laura couldn't wait to go to school and show off her new look. When Laura met up with her friends, they looked shocked. "What do you think?" she asked. Her friends were silent. "It looks good," one of them said. He was lying. During lunchtime, Laura overheard one of the mean girls say that no guy would ever want to date her because of her manly haircut. Laura was hurt, but she didn't care because she knew that she cut her hair for a good cause.
No need to help others.
Kimberly was very selfish. She only cared about herself and never did any favors for anyone. A classmate of hers asked for her chemistry notes, and she said no. The teacher asked her to read a section of the textbook out loud, and she said no. The principal asked her to pick up a piece of trash on the floor, and she said no. The principal called Kimberly into his office. He asked why she was so disobedient. Kimberly said that she didn't feel the need to help others when no one has ever helped her. "What do you mean no one helped you?" the principal asked. Kimberly explained how she never met her mom and dad. Her dad passed away before she was born, and her mom died while giving birth. Kimberly was in foster care, and her foster parents were not the nicest people. They provided food and a home for her, but that was it. The principal felt sorry for her. Kimberly asked him not to feel sorry for her because she liked that she was independent.
Washing dishes.
Apartment 103 had a dish problem. The sink was completely full of dirty dishes from 2 weeks ago. Nobody in the apartment wanted to wash their dishes. Also, no one remembered what dishes were theirs. It was getting out of control. There were flies flying around the dishes, and there was even some mold growing on the dishes. Everyone in the apartment knew that it was a problem, but no one wanted to do anything about it. Diane called all the girls in the apartment into the living room. "Guys, we need to do something about the dishes," Diane said. "I don't have time to do any of the dishes," Clary said. "We all don't have time," Diane angrily said. "Why don't we just split up the dishes in 4? That way it's all fair," Ella suggested. "But that's not fair because some of us don't use as many dishes as others," Katie said. There was a knock on the apartment door. Clary opened it. It was their neighbor, Eli. "I couldn't help but overhear your argument. I was thinking maybe I could wash all your dishes for $40, he said. The girls would have to pay $10 each. They decided it was worth it. If Eli washed them, then none of them would have to deal with it.
July 4th plans.
The 4th of July was a big deal to the Griffins. Every year they would have a huge celebration at their house with their friends and family. First, Everyone would watch a movie. Then they would eat hot dogs for lunch. Afterwards, they would play games. Some of the games they played together included tug of war, flag football, and trust exercises. After playing games, they ate dinner. Dinner was usually barbecue ribs, corn, and green beans. During dinner, the Griffins would talk about life updates and current events. The big news this year was that Lila Griffin was engaged to the CEO of a world-famous company. Lila Griffin was going to be rich. She was going to move to Beverly Hills. Her uncle asked if she was going to quit her job. Lila said she would not because she would get bored staying at home. After dinner, the Griffins would watch the fireworks. They had a good view of the fireworks. This year, they decided to make their own fireworks too. The fireworks came in lots of different colors, like blue, green, and purple. The fireworks weren't as big as the ones at the park, but they were still nice.
The hard truth.
Harold loved to draw. His love for drawing started when he was 5 years old. He went to a museum when he was 5 years old and was fascinated by all the drawings. His mom told him that maybe someday his art would be up on the walls. Since then, he had drawn something every day. However, there was one big problem. Harold was not good at drawing. He wasn't terrible, but he was definitely average. Harold is now 10 years old, and for 5 years his parents and friends have been telling him how great he is. Harold believed them. At school, he saw a flyer for a drawing competition among 5th graders. The theme was environmental awareness. The first place winner would get $100. Harold was super excited when he saw the flyer. It was a chance for him to show off his skills. Harold told his parents about the competition. His mom and dad nervously looked at each other. They didn't want him to find out that he was actually not a good artist. They told Harold what they really thought of his artwork. "So, you don't think I'm good?" he asked. They shook their heads. Harold was so upset that he tore up his art. He locked himself in his room. At night, his parents went to his room to give him his dinner. "Son, we really feel bad. We think it's great that you want to keep drawing. So your mother and I decided to sign you up for art lessons," Harold's dad said. Harold ran up to his parents and gave them a hug.
Pay me back.
Chris owed Penny $100 since last year. Chris used the $100 to buy printer ink. He was in a tough financial situation, but really needed printer ink to write his 20-page paper. Penny wanted him to pay her back immediately, but it never happened. He always had some excuses. He would say that he had the money, but he forgot it. He would say that his boss hadn't given him his paycheck yet for a long time. Penny forgot about the money Chris owed her. Penny remembered when she and Chris went to a restaurant together. Seeing him take out his wallet made her remember. "Hey, do you have $100? You still owe me," Penny said. "I thought I paid you back already," Chris said. Penny laughed. "Can I give it to you tomorrow?" Chris said. Penny knew that if she said yes, she would never get it. Penny said no and made him go all the way to the bank to get $100. Chris went to the bank and asked to take out $100. Something was wrong with his account, though. The banker told him that there was nothing in his account. Someone had pretended to be him and took all his money. Penny was never going to get her $100 back.
Doing something good can be bad.
Greg always felt strongly about the homeless population. He believed that even if a person was homeless, he or she deserved to be treated fairly. There must have been something tragic in their lives that led them to that path. He tried to help them in any way he could. For Thanksgiving, Greg decided to go around his neighborhood giving out free cooked turkeys. The homeless people were thankful to Greg. They felt bad that they couldn't return the favor. Greg told them not to worry about it. Greg also encouraged the homeless people to talk to each other so they wouldn't feel so lonely. Greg saw that 2 police officers were approaching him. He wondered what they wanted from him. The police officers told Greg that he couldn't give out free food without a license because it was a health concern. Greg thought that was ridiculous since it was clear that the turkey was fine. The police officers told Greg that if he gave out food again, he would be thrown in jail. Greg didn't realize that doing something good could actually be bad.
Picking a team.
Miles loved playing sports. He grew up playing basketball and tennis. He even wanted to play both sports in college and eventually become a professional. It was also really important for him to win, too. In physical education class, the teacher wanted Miles and another student, Antonio, to each pick 4 other guys to play a round of basketball. Roland was in the same physical education class. Miles knew that Roland wanted him to pick him first to avoid embarrassment. Every time students picked teams, Roland was the last. He was on the chubbier side, clumsy, and got tired easily. Miles felt bad, but he also did not want Roland on his team. There were 2 people left, Roland and Tom. Both of them were not athletic, but Tom was a little better because he was taller. Miles felt conflicted. He knew that if he did not pick Roland, he would be really sad. What was more important, winning or friendship? Miles decided that winning was more important and picked Tom. Roland was so shocked that he ran away to the bathroom to cry. All the guys laughed at him. Miles followed him into the bathroom to talk to him. Roland told him to get out. Miles continued to play basketball and ended up winning. It wasn't worth Roland's tears, though.
A stolen bike.
Beatrice rode her bike everywhere. Most of her classmates drove around the neighborhood. Beatrice's family couldn't afford to get her a car, so she decided to take her driving test later. She doesn't mind too much. Biking was fun, and it was good exercise. On her way home from school, Beatrice stopped by the supermarket. She forgot her bike lock. She thought about what to do and decided to just leave the bike outside. No one was going to steal her bike, she thought. She went inside to buy milk. When she exited the store, her bike was gone. She was going crazy. She looked all around the market just to see if the thief was still nearby. Hours went by, and she still couldn't find it. Beatrice walked back home with a gallon of milk in her hand. She looked up, and her bike was in front of her house. She was surprised. How did it end up at home? She asked her family how it got there. It turned out that her brother took it as a prank.
Singing competition.
Teresa was 25 years old and trying to get a record deal. She wanted to sing pop songs and have her name known all over the world. She had a great vocal range. In fact, she can even sing opera. Making it in the music industry was tough. It took a lot of good luck and connections to get a record deal. One time, Teresa came close to signing a deal, but it fell through when her manager passed away. Teresa saw an advertisement for a singing competition on TV. It was called The Next Superstar. The show was going to be on a major network, so millions would be watching. Teresa first had to sing in front of the 3 judges in Los Angeles. She bought a plane ticket immediately. She always wanted to go to Los Angeles since there wasn't really anything to do in Maine. Teresa arrived in Los Angeles and met the 3 judges. They sat at a long rectangular table. The judge on the left end of the table was a famous rock singer of a band. The judge in the middle was the CEO of Harness Music Group. The judge on the right end of the table was a vocal coach to many famous singers. Teresa was a little nervous.
Facing a setback.
Carter was known among his friend group to be the competitive one. He saw everything as a competition, from having the nicest car to finishing math homework the fastest. It was a good thing and a bad thing. It was good because he accomplished a lot. He always tried his hardest and aimed to be the best. It was bad because it made him stressed. Carter had just taken a difficult English test. A few days later, he got his grade back. He received a C. He was in shock. He had never gotten less than an A before. He asked his friends what they got on their tests. They didn't want to show him because they thought he wanted to show off. "Carter, you make us feel bad when you ask what we got," said one of his friends. Carter did not want to admit that he got a low grade. After class ended, Carter went up to the teacher. He asked Ms. Green what the average grade in the class was. Ms. Green said the average grade was B. Carter was extremely upset. For the first time, his grade was below average. Ms. Green told him not to worry and that even the smartest people would face setbacks.
No internet connection.
Jacob had to write a 10-page paper on Abraham Lincoln by tomorrow. He hadn't even started yet. He always procrastinated, but he always got good grades, too. Jacob poured himself a cup of coffee and drank the whole thing. He opened up his laptop. Then he opened up a blank document. Next, he opened up the internet browser. He had to look up information on Abraham Lincoln. When he clicked the enter button to look up information, it said that there was an internet connection problem. He checked his router. It looked fine. He double-checked if he typed Abraham Lincoln incorrectly. He tried turning his Wi-Fi on and off. It still didn't work. Jacob started to sweat. He knew his teacher wouldn't give him a deadline extension. Jacob called customer service and explained his problem. The person on the other line gave him suggestions, but nothing worked. Jacob talked to the person for about an hour and then gave up. He was upset that he wasted an hour. It was already 9 p.m., and he had to turn in his paper at 8 a.m. Jacob had to turn this around. He went to the library, picked out 10 books on Lincoln, and used the library computer. He finished writing at 2 a.m. He ended up getting an A on the paper.